Got me feeling like James Dean in this honeysuckle daydream. Have you guys heard that song? It's like called Sad Cowboys and something. Van Andrews is the artist. And I don't know any of his other songs, but I caught that one on TikTok and enjoyed it. He actually got a record deal due to his song taking off on TikTok, so that's interesting. So how are you? Welcome. Here's another pick a reflection. So if you're the person watching these, would you consider giving the post a like? Or maybe a dislike? Thumbs up, thumbs down, something? Interact? Say hi? If you're just watching to hate, then you could always leave a nasty comment. Oh, you probably don't want to do that though, right? Yeah, no, because everything backfires. Everything we put out to the universe comes right back to us. So, we wouldn't want to do that. And anyway, I do hope that when you find these, that it is helpful to you. And I do realize that there's lately only like one viewer. But I anticipate this will be something that's viewed in the future, and that's why I continue doing it, because I like doing these because it's a way for me to also document and share the wisdom I've gained, through my spiritual journey. And I think that has been important to me from day one. So even before the posts that are shown on this channel, the earliest post, I had documented years of my journey. So 2 of my laptops are kind of broken down. I still have the hard drives, so perhaps I can still get some of the footage back from my old documentation of my journey of shadow work, and just kind of showing this process of me learning all of this stuff. And I just feel so grateful right now for this process, because gosh, it's just been so beautiful. And I never thought that this is where I would be. I never knew that this was a possibility. And here I am, free at last. Free at last. I was just a traumatized person, and I was lost, and I was burdened, and I was depressed, and I was anxious, and I was suicidal, and I was emotionally dysregulated, and I found it hard to be hopeful, and I wanted to die most days of my life from the age 15 to age 40. Any upset, any dysregulation in my emotion would cause that feeling. I had lost hope, and I, at the same time, had a lot of life experiences which compounded those feelings, like homelessness, losing my children, being raped, illnesses that I was told would kill me, being kicked out of my family home, not having any support, being cheated on and hit by boyfriends, and feeling completely codependent, and often surrounding myself with people who I knew were not for me, but knowing that I liked their company because they were safe, because I could see their shadows, and I could see, even if they didn't really like me, even if they weren't fully on board for me, I liked that because that was home to me. That's how I kind of felt all the time, and I didn't want to get close to anybody. I didn't feel safe doing that. And So for me to kind of just take all that on, I took on all that trauma, all that doubt, all that fear, all that low self-esteem, all that hopelessness, all that suicidal ideation, all that physical illness, all that betrayal, all that hurt, all that pain, all that loss, all that grief, all that mourning. And I processed it fucking through my body. And I integrated that pain. And I became whole. And I became the person who loves all parts of me. All the parts of me that have experienced everything she has experienced are loved by me. I love me. And you know what happens when you love yourself? Life is good. Life is good. And you know what? I still have people around me who are in suffering. And I still am mostly isolated. But I love it. You know, like, I will help people who are helping themselves. I will assist anyone who asks me if it's the right invitation for me. I enjoy assisting people, but I've really yet to personally meet many people that are so devoted to themselves the way I have been. And that's what I want. I want to be surrounded by people who are fucking going for it, who have nothing gonna stop them from getting to their destination of self-love, of wholeness, of enjoying life, of being happy, of being a conscious, free creator on earth, to bring something here that is meaningful, lasting, and helpful to our humanity. Something that is not harmful to anybody, something that is the win-win-win for all, something that feels like a true expression, something that only they can bring. That is what interests me. That is what I focus on every day. It's been so worth it. And if you're a person who wants to be happy, who wants to shed all of the war and the dislike and the inner turmoil and the doubts and the fears, speak up. Let's talk. You know, if you need help doing it, speak up. Let's talk. You know, I want to meet more people like me. I want to meet more people who won't give up no matter what, and who have the tools to get them to where they want to go, and who are curious and interested in finding more things and growing and learning, and who are willing to drop egoic coping mechanisms that no longer serve them. You know, it's like being at war out in the world is just showing us that we're at war with a part of ourselves inwardly. So that's why I can be in full acceptance of someone who's at war with the rest of the world or at war with themselves, because I accept that that exists. I have loved that part of me, and I'm not bothered by it anymore. I understand that that is happening. I understand that those people are suffering. I have been in that suffering, and I know they can make it through if they want to. All I can do is continue to be an example of somebody who didn't let it win. You know, who overcame, who found her way, who used the tools, who did the work, who never gave up, who will never give up, and who loves herself thoroughly. It's just so fucking worth it. And we don't need to fight. We do not need to be at war. All of the energy that we've been using to stay in these programs that are just so used up. You want what somebody else has? Silly, silly, silly to try to think you've got to take it from them. You need to just change your mindset. Take your mindset back. Free your fucking mind from any limitations. You know, if you just learn the laws of the universe, it's very easy. It's very simple to turn things around. It's all there for us. We just have to open ourselves to it. And the part of us that doesn't want to is just a coping mechanism that is scared to feel pain. So you know what? Get good with feeling pain. Let yourself feel pain. Drop the fucking addictions. Stop trying to numb out. Feel the fucking pain. Feel it. Sit with it. Be with it. I'm not saying like turn into a sadist and want to live off it and thrive off it and get high off of it, because you can't. You know, it's like you'll just get deeper and deeper. But you will notice if you sit with your pain and you be present with your pain and you treat your pain like it was a little child that needs your love, then you are going to break out of all the coping mechanisms that you were running in your subconscious mind that were there just for the purpose of avoiding that pain. Now you're free. Now you have a bigger level of awareness and a bigger range of choices for your response in any given situation. You know how you've seen yourself automatically respond to certain things? You know how you're like, oh, when this happens, I always feel this way. When this happens, I always say that. Those are programmed responses, and your free will, your conscious awareness, and then your free will, when you choose it, you change it. You have to choose it. If you just stay unconscious and you just run it and you just feel like a victim and you just say, well, I can't do anything about it. This is how I am. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. I'm sick. I have this disability. It's like, no. People aren't even disabled. They are differently abled. Why are you going to let somebody label you with a dis? Okay? Because I've seen people who are so-called disabled, and you know what I see about them? They still survive, and they find a way to survive, and they do it a bit different than other people. So why don't we just call them differently abled? Why are we trying to diss people? You know, it's just silly. All these little snafus in our language are ready to be unraveled. So as our awareness gets bigger and bigger, we start to see all these places where we've placed limitation on ourselves. Why? In some cases, it's because we're simply scared of our freedom. We're scared of limitless possibilities. We don't know what will happen. We like our comfort zones. We like our predictable environment. We like knowing who's going to say what to our joke and who thinks we're funny and who we can count on in a pinch. Well, it's time to get brave. Go out there and break some patterns. Do something different. Feel how you feel in it and doing it, right? These comfort zones are a wonderful thing when we're trying to heal. You need a comfort zone when you're trying to heal. Other than that, a comfort zone is going to hold you back. You're here to grow and learn. And if you're not growing and learning, you're stagnating. And if you're stagnating, you're dying. That is the nature of a cell. And we, as humans, are cells in a sea of humanity. And we have to be true to who we are. We have to shed those programs. Because when we are true to who we are, and when we are acting in the highest good of ourselves, we are acting in the highest good of all. And where there's no need to be at war, and now we are a cohesive humanity working together in community for the good of all. There's no lack. No one's going without. No one has to fight for status. There's no one's better than the other. We each have specialties. Some people are good at this, some people are good at that. Some people are striving to get better at this, some people are striving to get better at that. We all have value. It's inherent. We're here because we are valuable. And to create an environment where everyone can have value means that no one has to fight for their value, that no one has to coerce or manipulate for their value, no one has to deceive or betray for their value, no one has to steal, no one goes without. Everybody is supported in an environment where everybody can be free to be who they really are. So I don't know how crazy this sounds from the perspective of being fully in all the programs, because I know when you're in a program, it filters the view that you see the earth with. You see the world through the filter of your own programs. So If something in your program is telling you not to listen to me, that I'm crazy, that this is outlandish, that I'm a dreamer, that's okay. That's your program. You just got a chance to see it. You're welcome. Once you can see something in your program, now you can acknowledge it. That's the first step to breaking free of it. So if it's in front of your face and you can acknowledge it, you are well on your way to breaking free. So you ask yourself, why? What would be so bad about it? What would be so bad about what I'm saying? And ask yourself that question over and over again until you find the core belief, which is the actual reason you are not willing to entertain the idea. Now, usually it's an avoidance of a certain pain or a fear. And then sit with the fear, be present with the fear, let the fear join you. That fear is joining all of you, the wholeness of who you are, and everything you've handled up to this point in your life. You are prepared to handle it. You have what it takes. And you can do these one by one. There's a much more balanced, neutral way to operate on this earth. And from that space, you are much more powerful, much more happy, and very free. Nobody is lacking. Nobody is losing. We are safe to do our creating here on earth. And there are a lot of solutions yet to be created, right? But a solution does exist for every issue. That's just how it is. One time I did this exercise where I wrote down all of my strengths and all of my weaknesses. And then for each strength, I wrote 3 ways that strength was also a weakness. And then for each weakness, I wrote 3 ways that was also a strength. And what I realized when I did that was how beautifully intricate I was put together like a puzzle. That for every weakness I had, there was a strength offsetting it. That there was actually nothing wrong with me. That I was perfectly designed to have the experiences I was having. And so, I don't say any of this to create hate within you for how you are, or what you perceive as something that's gone wrong. I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. I'm saying there is another way, and you are invited. And it feels really good to be here. It's free here, and it doesn't mean you forgo all the things you came here to learn. Because as I said, you become aware of something and then you work through it. When you become aware of something and work through it, then you've just finished that lesson. So you're going forward with all the lessons that you came here to learn. It's just a matter of putting your focus on doing that, on knowing that's possible. Because the alternative is to focus on lack, complaining, war, pointing fingers, looking outside of self for answers and authority and rescue, and to be a hero, and to try to earn your worth by being important to someone else, or valuable to someone else, or liked by someone else. And that is a losing battle, and it's a battle. And it's just so lived out. We already know how that goes. We know how that works. It doesn't work. It makes our kids suicidal. It makes our population burst out in rage every now and then. It makes people suffer. It makes people fall through the cracks. It makes people run on shallow means and operate with greed. I mean, there's just so much more here for us to experience with what we know, what we've learned. And since for 1,000 years or more, we've already lived out those programs of lack and victimhood and war, I think that we've learned everything that we can from it, and it's time to evolve. So are you an evolving human? Are you an evolving man? Are you an evolving woman? How can you tell the difference? I think maybe I'll make a meme on it in the coming days, so watch my page. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. But think about it. What does it mean to you to be an evolving person, an evolving human? If you're not evolving, that means you're holding space for the old ways. Is that really what you want to do? Do you think that there's more to learn there for you? Do you think it feels good to be there? If it does, if there is, then you know that for you. And I'm not judging you, and I'm not saying you're wrong. When the time comes that you've learned what you need to learn, maybe you'll consider the invitation again. This evolution goes at the pace it's meant to. The people who join the evolution are joining it at the perfect time for them, when they are ready to leave behind any loops that they're acknowledging. So sometimes it comes as an epiphany that, wow, I've been in a loop. I've been repeating this. Human brains are designed to notice patterns. So when something comes to your awareness and you know that it's a pattern, you've been living it in a loop, that is your invitation to limitless possibilities. That is your invitation to clear it out, to look into it, and to see why it's there, and to accept yourself, accept it, and be present with any feelings that are associated with the experience, so that you can break free from the ingrained pattern, the programmed pattern, which is usually operating in your ego, that's there to protect you from that feeling. Because once you become the person who has been present with and accepts that feeling, then you're no longer the person who has to do a lot of stuff to avoid it subconsciously, including drinking, drugging, people pleasing, having sex, going shopping, eating, whatever it may be. Be true to yourself. Yes, your true self. If you start now, you could have this done within a year. It doesn't have to be drawn out. Everything is coming really fast right now. The speed of information right now on the planet is fast. So don't look at it like, here's me. I'm telling you that for years I've been doing this, right? It doesn't mean that it would take you years, okay? There were people before me doing this, and the people who came before us paved the way. This energy is now here. It will flourish here. It's like it will catch, like, the 100th monkey effect. If you're not familiar, it basically says that once 100 monkeys were taught a certain skill, then other communities of monkeys automatically knew it. It was just kind of passed through the energy. Okay, so you can be part of it. Take the baton, do it for yourself. Go as far as you can, go as long as you can, and you'll know what's right for you by, following your guidance, following your inner urge. There's an inner urge that can guide us, and that is so easy to hear and know when we know ourselves. We can be true to ourselves when we know ourselves. So when we have asked ourselves so many times about, well, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? When you're untangling those programs, you get to know yourself. You can even make an inventory list of your values. What's important to you? Of your strengths. What are you really good at? Of your weaknesses. What are you still working on? Know yourself so that you can be true to yourself. And this is about creating balance. Balance is the key to being free. Balance is the key to being free. When you balance out the energy, so when you're in a loop, right, you're seeing one side of it usually, the stance that you've taken. So when you accept that stance fully, then you're going to be able to see the other side of it, because now you're not looking through the filter anymore. Now you're looking above the filter, and now you can see that the other side is also just as true as the way you were looking at it. And once you know those two things, once you can see both sides of something as true, feasible, possible, then you've created balance in the energy. Now your awareness is bigger than it. Now you have a choice when you utilize that energy. You're not going to be in a reactive state when you're on that topic. You have a bigger awareness, and this is your freedom. You're no longer tied to a certain reaction when it comes to that energy, because you created balance, because you noticed a loop, because you were brave enough to shed what wasn't really you and to find yourself and to be true. Okay. So, wow, a 25-minute intro. Well, I hope you stayed to watch it. Let's make these the choices, okay? It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be a pick a reflection. 1 is loop. 2 is Uranus. 3 is limitless possibilities. That was interesting. Be true to self is 4. 1 year is 5. And Astria is 6. That's an asteroid. It's number 5. Okay, so 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Use your own intuition to decide if one or more of those has a message for you. And yes, I have paint on my hand. I've been painting. We're going to start with pick number 1. You chose loop. Let's see what's up with you. So I hope you've been enjoying the very low quality of my videos lately. I lowered the resolution and everything so that I could upload it faster than what I was being able to do before. Okay, so something is out of balance, and you know, the loop that you might even be in could be that you're noticing a lot of loss. You're noticing what you don't have. You're noticing what you've lost. You're noticing what you've lost, and it doesn't feel fair. And maybe that's why it's so hard to move through, right? Because you want fairness. You feel like you've put a lot into it. You've grown this garden, basically, and it didn't come to fruition. You didn't get the payoff. Okay? So here's what I want to point out when this is the situation. If this is a situation, if this sounds appropriate to you, to some topic in your life, when we have an investment in something, say we're going to use a relationship as an example, but this could be for even like a craft that you've been working on that you couldn't just quite get right, or you couldn't sell it after you made it, or a proposal that you worked up for the bank and you know they're giving you a lot of refusals or whatever, right? So you worked hard on something. In my example, we're going to use relationship. You invested a lot and you were very loving, caring, attentive, and you helped this person a lot. This actually came in reverse. I don't mind putting it upright for you though, and we'll also put the Justice card upright for you, because we're going to work through this energy to a point where those can both be upright, because in actuality all that you invested is still there. You know, you got to be the person who was doing the investing. Can you remember how much you enjoyed that feeling of being in love, of doing what you love, of doing something that you were excited about, of creating something that was personal, that was you, that was your expression, or that you were very hopeful for? Remember the feelings you had about why you were investing in this. You know, there were good things about it, right? Now, if you were to slow things down and just be present with all those good feelings along the way, isn't it true that those are worth something too? That even though your old mindset might have told you to only do things for an outcome, only do things that you're going to get something out of, isn't it true that you don't actually have to get that outcome in order for you to have enjoyed and received a lot of blessings from the process of investing, from the process of being? Like if you were in a relationship where you were a loving being and eventually the love was not returned, you still got to experience yourself as a loving being. It was your love that you were experiencing when you were so happy, when you were in love, when you were floating, when you would have done anything. That was you. You are the loving being. So notice all of this that you've gained. You've gained the experience of being that. You've gained the ability to see that even though whatever you invested in, whatever goal that you had in mind when you invested didn't come to fruition yet, that there was a lot of great stuff that you experienced along the way. So give yourself justice, you know? If it feels unfair, change your mindset to a growth mindset, meaning that there was a lot of wisdom gained. Now, all of this might be very difficult to do if you haven't honored how you feel. So if you're feeling sad, heartbroken, betrayed, disappointed, feel that first. Feel that first before you move on to any other steps. Be present with it as if it's your child. Be present with the emotion. Let yourself feel it. Love the part of you who feels it. Fully be present with it. Fully accept it. This is going to allow it to move through you, to integrate with you. Now you become the person who loves the part of you who feels disappointed or feels betrayed. That's what that part of you needs. As humans, we do get disappointed. We do get betrayed. As long as we love ourselves through it, we will not be buried by it. We will not be burdened by it going forward. We won't even need to hold on to a grudge. What we go forward with is our discernment, our bigger awareness about a situation, right? But it can never change who we are. So if we know who we are in the situation, and maybe the situation actually told us that we didn't know who we were, that we were willing to sacrifice ourselves all the way just to try to get what we wanted in that end goal. And maybe this was a situation that taught us that that wasn't really beneficial way to go. That maybe there's another way we could go. So couldn't this situation be for the purpose of teaching us to make sure we enjoy the process and make sure that we have what we need along the way, and that our investment is in something that honors us, because that is the most important thing, and that we feel loved by loving ourselves throughout the process, that we're not putting ourselves in a lack situation. I wonder, yeah, I'm gonna kind of say anything else about this. You have options in your career, and I think that part of it is that you are perhaps a healer or an advisor, a teacher, and you're an alchemist, and that creating balance is always an option for you, and that the world will see you in this. This is something the world will know about you when you become an example of somebody who can alchemize things that are difficult, things that are out of balance, and things that you have dealt with in the past. So when something sort of pokes you in a loop, or in a difficult or uncomfortable emotion, it's like an opportunity. It's not meant to be resisted. We don't lash out at the person who poked us, or turned us down, or walked away, or rejected us. If there's a hurt in there to be had, that means there's an unloved part of us that needs our rescue. And if somebody poked it in us, thank you to them. Thank you for letting us know. This is not to be avoided. We're taking full responsibility for ourselves and what we feel. And what we feel is meant to be honored by us. This is how we alchemize. Some of it will be rooted in us from a past situation. And those are those loops. And we may have never gone and rescued that part of us from the past if someone hadn't poked it in us in the present. So you've been given the gift of awareness on a topic that you can now do something about. Okay. Wow, that was pretty cool. So that's your reading. Remember, it's information to reflect on. Just take what's helpful to you, and we'll see you in the next one. Hello, Uranus. Uranus is a planet that signifies sudden and electrifying change. It can be epiphanies, electricity, bolts of energy, changes, breaking down of structures. It could be like earthquakes or tsunamis, you know. It's like a secret being revealed to you suddenly, an awareness being expanded on a topic suddenly. And maybe you feel like you do need some more insight in something, so you've actually kind of taken yourself a step back so that you can assess a situation. And I think that you're very much prepared to be an independent, strong, driven person with whatever information that is revealed to you. And maybe you're also collecting parts of you that don't know that you have the right to go do this, right? It's like, or maybe you want to feel passionately driven by something and you're just kind of setting back to find out, to know yourself more, and to see what are you passionate about? What does get you going? What gives you that jolt that makes you want to get up in the morning? I think you have the stamina and the strength and the resilience and the intelligence and all of that. And you may be working on a little bit level of confidence. Let's see what else. You may be surrounded by people who don't believe in you, and that might be making it difficult. You may feel like there is a wound in you holding you back. What you want to go forward with is what you lose track of time doing. You know, when you've just like lost track of time? Whatever you're doing during that is you're in flow state, meaning you have stepped out of time when you're doing that thing, and that means you're doing something that's inspired. So it's important that you do take action on things that you're inspired to do, and I think you'll feel more fulfilled and more happy. But I see that as you're trying to do that, you're coming up with things, parts of you, that feel sensitive or hurt or fearful. And that's an opportunity to love that part of yourself. So it's important to acknowledge those parts as they come up. Like if something in me kind of comes up as a feeling, I notice it and I say, oh, what is this feeling? I acknowledge it, right? And I'm kind of talking to it a little bit within myself, like I'm not actually talking out loud. But I kind of go, well, okay, what is this? What do you feel? What do I feel? And maybe it's like I feel anxious and scared and unsure. And then I say, okay, all right, that's okay. Let me see, why do you feel that way? I guess there's circumstances here that would warrant you feeling that way. I totally understand. And I accept that I feel this way, and this feeling is allowed to be with me. And I love myself, and I don't have any conditions on my love for myself. So there are no conditions on loving myself through any uncomfortable feelings. So the want to move forward, the passionate drive forward, the inspired action that wants to be taken is actually also an opportunity to heal along the way in the process. instead of bypassing, pushing forward, or trying to use our strength to overcome any of our fears or doubts, we actually heal ourselves along the way. So we have something about food sensitivity here and environment. So maybe like you're not surrounded by people who eat the same things or the same way as you. Maybe there's something that you haven't noticed that's not good for you yet in your diet. There seems to be like a reputation for truth. You may be a person with a reputation for truth, spirituality, and assistance. Interesting. We got lies. You're a lie detector. You may need to acknowledge some part of you that's stubborn, right? Like say you know that, well, I'll use my own example here. Like I know that sometimes my body doesn't like to eat rice because I'll get like inflammation after I eat rice. But I really love rice. And sometimes I feel like I need something more substantial than just vegetables and salad and fruit. So I will still occasionally eat rice. And then maybe that's a stubborn part of me that just hasn't figured out another solution. So I don't think it's exactly that for you, but I think it's like some sort of something like that, where you might be stubbornly holding on to something that you know might not serve you. I do think that you are a lie detector. Like you are able to tell the truth and tell a lie by how it feels. You know when things feel right. You know when an emotion is coming up, and you know the feeling that you have associated with it. So when you start to feel a new way, when something doesn't feel like the same old way, like say, I remember this one time I had a breakup with a boyfriend, and he drove a white truck. And for a while after the breakup, every time I passed a white truck on the road, I would get anxiety in my gut. It would just like feel awful. And it would just be this awful feeling. And it was like I had a PTSD trigger to a remembrance of him every time I saw a damn white truck. And you can imagine how annoying that was, right? So it lasted a while because there was a lot of emotions for me to move through and work through when that breakup happened. So it wasn't like I could just do it all at once. You have to do one at a time, right? So eventually, though, I got to that and I got to be able to alchemize the feeling of discomfort and anxiety when I saw a white truck. And I'll never forget that moment when the next time I went by a white truck, I saw it and I thought that I would feel that same way, but I didn't. It was gone. And I remember going, oh, wow, it's gone. Now, a lot of times when you heal stuff and alchemize it, you don't remember it. But this one I remembered, and I just remember the contrast. And I feel like that's something that you're sensitive enough to understand too. That when you start to feel differently, when you start to notice that there's no more angst there on that topic, like you really can appreciate that. And that's how you tell the difference between truth and lies. And me too. By the way, like I can also tell the difference between truth or lies by feeling it. I know what a lie feels like, and I know what truth feels like. And it's easy to see through people when you can feel the subtle vibrations this way. But I don't hold it against people. Say somebody's lying. Say somebody is kind of like hating on me secretly but being nice to my face. I don't like care. You know what I mean? Like, I've already loved all the parts of me that they hate. So there's, like, I can tolerate that. I won't, like, invest in them. You know, we're not going to have a sleepover or anything. But if it's a pleasant enough experience for me, and it's not like, you know, usually these are, like, pretty good people that are just kind of, like, grappling with their own jealousy or envy or whatever it may be, you know? Misunderstanding within themselves. Some people have been treated very poorly in their own youth, and they end up like playing it out later on other people. And I can see all that. So it's just like, what am I going to do? But I feel like you too are kind of like open to all that with people, right? And that maybe makes it very easy for you to help people. And I think you do assist them spiritually. So as you're in this like hanged man state of taking some time out to kind of get it so that this Queen of Wands energy is upright, I think you're going to go forward with an epiphany, with a new idea, with something that you're freshly inspired to, that you're fully qualified for, that you understand fully because of the history, because of what you've already been through. Okay? Because of all the wounds you've healed, because of the history you've had, because of the environment you're in, because of the energies you feel, you are going to move forward into something new that is going to be something you're well known for. And that is why you know to step back right now and be in that state of contemplation and probably a lot of receiving. Probably like when you have all this fire energy, you may be really like trying to ground it too, right? Like drinking a lot of water, getting in nature, making sure that what you're bringing in fire and your passion and your understandings and your knowings can be grounded to the earth, and figuring out the best way to do that. That's what you're doing. All right, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. Remember, this is just information to reflect on, so it's meant to be helpful. Only take what's helpful to you, and I will see you in a future one. Okay, pick 3. Here you are, pick 3, and it is definitely time for us to have a drink of water. So how about you two? There are limitless possibilities. It's interesting because I used to have this little mantra thing that I would say about limitless possibilities, because I love it, right? I like limitless possibilities, even though, there are certain times that humans can get scared of limitless possibilities, because it's like, oh, no limits? Like, ooh, But let me take a sip and then I'll tell you this. So take a sip too if you have some. That was more like a lot of gulps. So I apologize if you could hear that, but whatevs. So there came a time on my journey where I was realizing that on a certain thing that I was in, like an energy that I was trying to learn, there wasn't limitless possibilities as long as I was in that energy. And my cards kept telling me that. And I was like, oh, man. And it just, I was just like, oh, okay, like, this is like a mandatory friggin' soul contract that I gotta deal with. Oh, I gotcha. And to me, it's like, I think soul contracts are just like possibilities, right? Like, no one can force you to just do a soul contract. But I think on a soul level, when you leave this life, you probably will wish that you had followed through, because there was a reason for you to have it. Maybe things changed and you couldn't fulfill a soul contract because someone else didn't meet you where they were meant to. And, so not always, there's not always something that you could do about it if it doesn't get fulfilled. But, I had one and it felt like a limitation, right? So, there was this point where I was just like, oh, so happy to be back to my limitless possibilities. And limitless possibilities also means that you take responsibility for your own creation, meaning this life is what I'm creating. I'm taking responsibility for all of my creations in this life. So it changed from like, oh, I want to find the one, get married and live happily ever after, to, oh, I am the creator of this, so what one, if I want one, what one do I want? Like, it was like, oh, I have options. It's not like, the fairy tale that I was sold on, that was something I was alchemizing, right? And that makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? I think that there is one, but I think it's if I believe there's one, and if I bring myself to the standard of knowing, having faith, and lining up with, knowing I'm worthy of, all of those things have to come into play if it's going to be the one. Otherwise, say you're just going along and you meet somebody and you kind of hit it off, and then you get married or whatever, and you're saying like this is the one, and then there are things, there's always going to be things that you're going to work through in a relationship, because that is one of the main reasons for relationships, is so that you can grow and learn together. So like, do you build that into the relationship? Yes, in a successful relationship you do. So like, in a way, limitless possibilities don't exist when you're creating your own reality, because you're limited by what you're willing to create, right? So this is an interesting thing where both things are true, in my opinion. Let's see what we can pull out from the oracle on this. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Look what came out, soul plan. I'm just gonna get some tarot before we read this. The Hierophant. The Hierophant reversed. The Lovers reversed. Hold on, I'm gonna get one more and get these in view. And the Nine of Cups. Oh, interesting. This is very interesting, especially since the example I gave seems to be directly spelled out in this. The example of the one for me. And my journey to the one for me has been very difficult, because I did believe in fairy tales, and I did want that, and to be honest, I never ever even kissed a boy that I didn't think I would be, I wouldn't have kissed him if I didn't think he was the one, you know what I mean? So that's how naive I was, because I just knew I knew as a soul that I was here to meet up with one. I do know that. But I didn't know that there was going to be a lot of kissing frogs before I could become the one myself. You know what I mean? I had a lot to learn. So along the way, each time I was with one, I thought, that's the one. And I'm talking about every one. Everyone along the way, there's it got to be kind of a little joke in the beginning, when in my 20s or whatever, and I would be like, oh, I met someone, he's really great, I think, he's the one. And then, a month later, it would be over, and then I would meet someone new, and then I would tell my family again, oh, I met somebody, I'm pretty sure he's the one. And and then a month later, it would be over, and then I would meet somebody new, and I would be like, oh, I met somebody, he's really great, I'm pretty sure he's the one. And of course, they caught on to this pattern before I did. But I certainly did shortly after, and then had to admit that I needed to take myself off the market, because I couldn't get past a month with anyone. And if they were the one, and I just I was disillusioned. I was like, okay, so something's not right here. Of course, it took many more years to realize that, some relationships are for learning and growth, and for resolving soul contracts, and resolving energies that are looping, that need to be alchemized. And we come in with soulmates who agree to do that with us. And my awareness wasn't big enough, because I was still looking through the filter of my codependency, which my codependency was based on the fact that I just wanted someone to love, and I wanted someone to love me. And it was very, very, very big theme of my lifetime in particular. If you were to look at my astrology chart, you can see it there. And I have learned so much, and I'm much more free now, to the point where, I really, it's not an obsession for me. The topic is not an obsession for me anymore. And I didn't know if that could ever happen. You know what I mean? Okay. So we got the Hierophant in reverse, so something non-traditional here. And then the Lovers in reverse, either like a secret relationship, people don't know about this, or it's like it could have turned to hate, something like that, but it's wish fulfillment. Let me look at these. Energy vampire. Okay. Yeah, there's imbalanced in the relationship, and so it was brought to a new timeline. That means that something was understood about it being imbalanced, and then a new chance was given. So say you're trying to understand something, and you have like a soul plan to come together with a soulmate in order to learn certain dynamics of relating as a human. So there may be several timelines that you have to visit in order to free yourself from each misunderstanding that you carry from previous incarnations. So, say one soulmate is going to help you clear a bunch of timelines. Now, I would have formerly called these karmas. And once you clear one misunderstanding, then you'll jump to a new timeline to clear another misunderstanding. So if you don't have an understanding of life as something that doesn't necessarily have to be linear, then this could be very confusing for you. But since life is not just linear is the way most people are experiencing it, I will admit. But life is not just linear. So in order to clear up energies that need to be alchemized, we can actually use one relationship with a soulmate to visit different timelines where different scenarios are happening and clear each one. Okay? So that is what has happened here. And this is a very powerful connection. Like, really powerful. I don't think that it was easy to, like, not... You would be forced to do this, pretty much. Like, this was like... Yeah, with a specific person, you had to come together, and it was for the understanding. You had to clear up all the misunderstandings in each of you to help heal. You agreed to help heal each other. And I think this is two intelligent people. Very intelligent people. They must be untangling very difficult things to untangle, right? Because that's why they came in with all this power, all this strength, and all this intelligence. Yeah, this was the plan. And we've got expired soul contract. So if one person achieved understanding on a timeline and the other hadn't yet achieved what they were supposed to learn from that, then they would stay in that loop of that energy playing it out. And if the other one had already learned, they might give them a chance, but at some point that's going to expire. Like, because say you're soulmates and you say, okay, well, I'll come and play this part, you come play this part, and then when I figure it out, I'll make sure that you have ample time to figure it out. But, like, if this person's not going to ever figure it out, and you know they're going in the other direction and totally not participating as the soul intended, because our humans can only participate in this with our free will. So if the human is stuck in fear programming or avoidance programming or addictions, then sometimes they can get off track, right? And that means that they can run out of time for the contract, right? They can, like, this person could have to, like, move on to another scenario with someone else because this other party won't move forward. And I think there was a lot of potential with this particular situation. Let's see what else it says. I don't know. It's very spiritual connection. Like, yeah, it's been intercepted. So certain things couldn't happen if certain things didn't happen beforehand. You see? It was like, well, if this, and this hasn't happened, then this isn't gonna go forward. This, you know? And it's because energy vampire. It's because there's an imbalanced relating dynamic that's supposed to be cleaned up between these two parties, and it hasn't been. There's a lot of mystery around the situation, and part of that is part of the design. If these two intelligent beings knew all the answers, they probably wouldn't do the work that needed to be done. They probably wouldn't focus on it long enough to get the work and the energy balanced out. Like, it needed to have the mystery. The mystery is part of the equation as well. There's an earth angel. One of these parties is an earth angel, so that's probably the one that has been holding space for the other more often. So interesting, we got possibility. So there's always possibility, right? But that's what I say about soul contracts. Soul contracts are possibilities. So it's like, you know, on a soul level, yes, you have a contract, but if you're a human, you don't know that, you know, it's like the person who does know that isn't really gonna like hold on for that. Like, what, you know, what could this earth angel do? Go to the other party and say, hey, we have a contract. That person, in the midst of their fears and their programming and their limitation on view, is gonna probably lash out, you know, is gonna reject them. And it depends on what kind of things they're trying to clear, right? It does depend on what these parties are like, but that's the kind of scenario I was seeing and feeling. Okay, so delaying, yeah. There was a delay in this because of this situation where one party did not learn or understand what they needed to learn about the scenario. This is happening in a friendship, but I think the friendship was meant to grow to more, or possibly could have. Maybe there's a friendship still on offer. There is illusion being used in this scenario, like, in order to keep this alive, in order to help parties learn what they need to learn, this Pisces energy keeps things with an illusion and the mystery. It's like, if you're not interested enough, then you won't dig. And there is a need to ground this thing. It's like, whatever's happening in the spiritual realm needed to be grounded into the human realm, and I think that's what did not happen. So it remained illusionary, like there was no like grounding of the situation. There still remains mystery. The rest is still unwritten, okay? This could change around, but at this point, it's like limitless possibilities, you know? It's like, we know how it works. Free will has to be used in order for a misunderstanding to be cleared up and alchemized, and I'm sure Earth Angel has done that and continues to do that, and other party, whoever this is, whoever the other party is, who's very much in their human view, may or may not know that yet, you know? They may not understand, and it probably has to do with their self-worth. And maybe some celebrating that they're doing. But both parties could celebrate how far they've come. True and destiny and justice. Yeah. Justice will be served in this, so both parties will get what they need to help them understand. And the party who is doing the delaying and the avoiding and the not using their not using their opportunity to understand is probably suffering affected health, because that means they have stuck energy in them. And when the energy is stuck in them, the energy has to get louder and louder to get their attention. So, like, maybe an illness would manifest so that they'd be put out of commission, so they'd be forced to be still with themselves and forced to have to feel some feelings instead of running away, avoiding drinking, drugging, partying, whatever their method of avoidance was. The affected health will actually work for us. And I had this happen in my life earlier on, where I had autoimmune hepatitis manifest in my liver, and my liver was failing, and my doctor said I needed to be on a liver transplant list, and that correlated to all the traumas and the anger that I had accumulated up to that point in my life. That was before my journey into spirituality really began. It was the very beginning of my journey. And it started with a health crisis because I was ignoring my feelings because no one taught me it, and I had no idea. I didn't know about spirituality. I was fully in my coping mechanisms, because my coping mechanisms were designed to help me survive trauma, which I thought life was. And it was for me in the beginning, like I grew up in a war zone. Like, my home that I grew up in was a lot of fighting, and there's not enough money, and there's black and blue and holes in the wall, and it's just guns being pulled and drugs being done and kids being shooed out, and mistresses, and just not an environment that would make a child feel like I'm safe in the world, you know what I mean? So all that was stuff that I had coping mechanisms to deal with, and so my view was completely filtered by all of that. And I have a feeling that maybe this person is also in a kind of a state like that, where maybe they've even got really good coping mechanisms that are holding them up pretty well. And that's why the health issue could come in, because, so say you're like just someone who's like, oh, I'm just going to focus on work, and like, at least I'll feel important, or at least I'll feel like I'm contributing if I work. And maybe like coming down with a health issue would put them out of work, which would get them to be still and maybe even bedridden, so that they would be forced to be with themselves. So when somebody's like coping in very human ways and ignoring the suppressed emotions, and not able to break out of the coping mechanisms because they're working so well in society, that's when illness can kind of step in to help us shift and see things differently. So I don't think it has to come to that. I think that's something that could happen. That could be one of the timelines that were to happen if this kept delaying. So I don't know, like, which party you are here, but this scenario, if you've been listening and this is your story, then, make it fit how you want, and go with what feels true to you. Okay? But it's true that this was part of the destiny for both of these parties in this incarnation. And it may be playing out exactly how it was supposed to play out, with the delaying and everything, right? Like, who am I to say? And if you know that it's not, like, if you know that this should have been resolved by now, then you know. And you can trust yourself. So it's like possibilities and free will. So when we have two people who agree to play a part for each other, and one plays the part a little bit differently than they might have expected to, what are you going to do? It's like, we're in a human body, we're having an experience, and some people are really suffering through it. Some people are trapped in the illusion that they are in lack, and that hurts. So there's a lot of compassion here for this scenario, I think. Like, even if this person took the dark road, right? Like, even if this person's delaying and fighting against this and saying, no way, I'm not going to play that part for you because I'd rather have this life, and F you and F whatever I agreed to do with you. It's like, well, okay, like, what could this person possibly do but be okay with that? That's just what it is, right? It's like, the earth angel would know that there's a higher way of being, and that's the standard that they have to hold. So this other person has to meet them on that level in order to complete the contract, in order to balance out the energy, in order to alchemize what needs to be alchemized. This earth angel, with the view they have, is not going to be able to go down and lower themselves into those old places. That would defeat the whole purpose of the contract. That's not their contract. Their contract is to hold the high standard, to be an example of what it is to be in balance. And whatever this other party has to do to fulfill their part of the contract is yet to be seen, right? Will they or won't they? We don't know. So if you're the party who needs to fulfill the contract and hasn't yet, and is operating in an imbalanced way, you'll know because you feel like uncomfortable and you feel like suffering and you feel like even though that you're doing all that you're supposed to do, you're not feeling good, then please don't beat yourself up. Even if you've made choices that you would have made different now that you are more aware. Again, this is all experience meant to be loved by you. Your job is to take responsibility for it, to acknowledge it, validate why you did it, accept that you did it, and love the part of you who did it. You are lovable no matter what choices you made, no matter what disappointments you created for another party. That's their stuff to be with, right? So this earth angel, say before they realized this state of being, right? And they had a program that was prone to being disappointed. And they had a lot of disappointments in life. And then you disappointed them. And they were finally pushed to be present with the disappointed part of them and love that disappointed part of them that was there since childhood, pushed away and never honored. You gave them that opportunity. Their job was to be with and love all the parts of themselves that felt things in accordance to this interaction they were having with you. So nothing has necessarily gone wrong, right? So I feel like it's just like, keep loving yourself no matter which side of this you're on. Keep loving yourself. That's it. Things become clearer and clearer and clearer. There's no room for illusions anymore once everything is clear, once everything is loved, once everything is accepted. Then you just are the person who holds the high standard and loves yourself, and who only relates in a balanced, fair way. The limitless possibilities are accessible from there, because with balanced energy, you're not in a coping mechanism. You've practiced using your free will, so you know the power of it. And you're curious because you know there's more out there. You know there's a reason why you prepared yourself the way that you have. You're not needing anyone to be any certain thing, right? This earth angel isn't saying, well, you need to be this for me. You agreed. No. There's no expectations. There's no attachment to outcome. Now you're just free. And you freed each other by giving each other the reason to love yourself in an adverse situation, or in a disappointing situation, or in a betrayal situation, or in a situation that was confusing, or in a situation that was delayed, in a situation that lacked love and lacked traditional, that lacked wish fulfillment, Yeah. interesting because I feel like the story I told about the limitless possibilities, and when I realized, there wasn't limitless possibilities, I feel like it's that scenario that just played out here in these cards. So it's like you did have to participate in this. That was, and in order to get to your limitless possibilities, you had to participate in that first. You know what I mean? So whatever it was for you. Remember, this is just information to reflect on. It did say the rest is still unwritten, and it did still have a lot of mystery in it. And so I think that it's still in progress for maybe one or both parties, but like, if one clears all the way, they don't have to stick around for the other. The other can play it out with someone else too. So I wouldn't feel like it's, like if you've already cleared the disappointment and you're not feeling tied to it anymore, then, you're fine. Just move on. Like, you'll know where you are. It's just information to reflect on. So only take what's helpful to you and leave the rest. And now we're going to move on to be true to yourself. So this is number 4. Eight of Cups, walking away. Knight of Swords in reverse. Not rushing in, not in any rush. Ten of Swords, stabbed in the back. Seven of Wands, manipulation and coercion. Alrighty then, let's do a little sage. Let's have a sage party. And we will sage the oracle bucket. Incidentally, I'll be using this bucket tomorrow when I'm going to go do a bunch of readings at a little event. And I like that event because I get a lot of repeat customers. And it's like a small little thing in my community, and it's just such a great vibe, and I just really love being there. I love the hostess, and I love the others that set up at the event. So I'm excited for that. Let's see what we have here. Excuse me, I guess I got some of that smoke in my throat, or there's a throat chakra issue. Let's take some water. All right. You've had to walk away from something, and you're maybe looking for the higher meaning in it. Someone was just unfair. Someone wasn't true. Someone was a bit of a tyrant. Someone seemed really nice and has the ability to be nice, but they were just kind of all about power, scared to be overthrown, acting in ways that they thought would keep them with the upper hand. Maybe obsessed with being special, or obsessed with, like, their status, their reputation, something like that. Music may have played a part in this, and it was an opportunity for you to surrender control. Now, if you're the person who was the tyrant, who wanted to control things, who was manipulating, and you're leaving those things behind, it's because you saw a higher view. You saw a higher view than that. You must have seen through your own pattern. Or somebody did it to you and then you saw it. Yeah, you could have gotten a taste of your own medicine. So this forced you to kind of look within. You saw something in your subconscious. You are protected while you go through this, and what you're doing is revealing your weakness. Your 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 weakness has been revealed to you. Now, if it's like your ego, if it's that your ego wants power and is power hungry and will do anything to get it, then, that's a good thing to know, right? It's like nobody's special if we're all special, and we are. We all have like specialties. Like not everyone is good at everything, but everyone's good at something. So competition isn't really something that we're going to need going forward. It was a nice thing to try out for many years, even thousands of years. Zeus started it right with his children. He killed his child so that they couldn't overthrow him. He pretended that he was something he wasn't so that he could he could trick his sister into sleeping with him and then marry her. He was never faithful to her. He sometimes took pity on some of the people that his wife cursed, or those that were in great suffering, but his solutions weren't the best. They still kept him in power, you know. This Zeus never allowed himself to be in a committed monogamous relationship. Never. He was always a cheater, and he was always doing power plays and power struggles, okay? And he was always sneaking around and never true to anyone. Never monogamous, never loyal to a counterpart. And Zeus probably wouldn't look at that as a weakness, but it actually is a weakness, because it actually reveals his biggest weakness. When you see what he's not willing to do, you see there's a reason for it. And then if you look at the reason, you know his weakness. His weakness is that he can't feel, his mother, his caretaker, didn't connect with him in a way that made him feel safe. He was pushed to a place of cold-heartedness, of calculated risks, of keeping the upper hand, of basically hustling through life. And he hurt a lot of people in the process. He killed his own kid because he didn't want to be overthrown later. There was a prophecy. I mean, this is not noble. This is a man in fear. This is a man afraid to not be thought of as the best, as the special one, as the most powerful. This is a man who's afraid not to be feared. This is a man who doesn't want to be seen. He wants to instill fear, and fear is something that filters other people's view, so then they can't see clearly. So he did have, I think it was could have been his first wife, Metis, who could see right through him and who was very wise and who he did trust. And then he threw her to the sea or something. I'm not sure exactly of the myth, but he felt threatened. He felt threatened by someone who was his equal. So that's very interesting. Let's see if you were using Zeus-like energy, and we have the 9th house here, and it seems like you were doing it to alchemize it, right? Like, once you could see how it's a weakness. It's a weakness. You're exposing yourself with your own behavior. You're exposing your weaknesses to your own behavior. So now, women who see that wound in you manipulate you. Women who see that wound in you threaten your reputation. Women who see that wound in you play like they need to be taken care of so that your ego is fed, so that you feel like you're purposeful, like that you have something to offer, so that they won't leave or they won't overpower you, that they're the needy ones. I mean, women can play you on that. They can pretend they're the needy ones. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I think that becoming aware of your own weakness, it can only help you. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, especially if you're one of the people who came here to help clear Zeus karma. You know, like if Zeus's patterns were living out here on Earth for thousands of years, they've been outlived, right? Like we've learned what we needed to learn about that kind of behavior. And we needed very strong people willing to alchemize that behavior. So that means we needed people who would live it out and then have a reason to overcome it. And so it looks like you do have a reason to overcome it. So you have to surrender control. Surrender control. That's Scorpio energy here. Scorpios might be, very valuable examples to this person, because Scorpios know that if you try to control something that you really can't control, it's just going to backfire on you. It's going to waste your time and you're going to hurt yourself in the process. So take it from Scorpio, surrender control. That is powerful. That's powerful. Do you know, look at the difference between trying to control everything, manipulate, and anticipate somebody's move, and being in the flow, opening your heart, and trusting the universe to lead you where you're meant to go. There's no one here to compete against. Like, we're all going there. You know what I mean? It's like you're playing an old game at this point. You have every reason to go forward. So you've noticed the patterns that you were stuck in, and you're able to break free from them by noticing them. It was your soul contract to do this. So this is an honorable thing that you are doing. You feel the tension, that's where you go through. So wherever you feel tension, wherever you feel discomfort, wherever it's not working, wherever you're butting heads, those are all the key places where you use your free will to untangle that energy. And the way you have to do it, well, you'll know your way to do it, but I'll tell you that the way that I know to do the untangling of energy is to be present with it, accept it, and then love the part of you who feels it. Let the feeling be there. There's a feeling. On every one of these behaviors, there's a feeling down below being suppressed or denied. That feeling needs to be dug up, and that's going to take some strong-ass, powerful focus, some willingness, someone who can endure pain, someone who knows that they can survive pain, and who will bravely go forward into the pain. That's Zeus. That is Zeus too. You know what I mean? Zeus wasn't all bad. Zeus has great qualities, but he used them for bad stuff a lot, But that was fine too, because now we know what that's like. It doesn't make him lesser or wrong. It makes him wise. Now he knows what that's like. Let's use it for what can happen when you use it for this other thing. When pride isn't the heavy burden capping you out at the lower density ways of using the energy. It's like above pride is joy and bliss and freedom. I mean, Zeus deserves to have those things too. There's that fear of not being good enough, or being overthrown, or of not being seen or loved, or that he couldn't find somebody to be loyal and monogamous with. That is just not true. But his pride will always keep him from seeing that. Okay, so yes, love, sudden epiphany of love here, or something like that. So, revisiting a topic, a person, to create harmony. And look, building it on faith. Oh my gosh. I just got chills, and it's beautiful. And, kind of tears in the back of my eyes. And I don't know what the hell music has to do with all of this, but, maybe there's something with music here that you'll know about. But we got harmonics, so that's interesting too. Making music might be really important to you, in order to be true to yourself. And like maybe you're not allowing that for yourself because maybe you have room for improvement. Maybe you're surrounded by people who are, more practiced or something. I don't know, but like it's the fear of not being special that might keep you from being so true to yourself. It's like you don't have to be the best at everything when you do it. Sometimes there's room for practice and improvement. And it's like if anyone can do it, Zeus can do it. I mean, to be honest, this Zeus energy is something that I've been working with for years, and that's what I've felt. That's what I've felt about Zeus energy, is like in awe of Zeus energy, and just being like, that is a lot to take on for a person. If anyone who took on Zeus energy in this lifetime is like, they have my respect, and I honor them, and I'm thankful for them because I know it's not an easy contract to take on. And also I'm just thankful because it's like this person becomes an example to all who are running any inkling of those imbalanced ways of relating, with pride and fear of not being special and competition, and covering up their weaknesses with basically ways that they can be manipulated themselves. Anyone who's manipulating is going to be manipulated. It's just how it works. Anyone who's stabbing someone in the back is going to get stabbed in the back. It's just how it works. This way of operating, it's just not smart, And now you have a bigger picture view, so when we know better, we do better. I think, who says that? Eleanor Roosevelt, or maybe it was Maya Angelou. I'm not sure. One of them. But I really liked that quote. When we know better, we do better. And that's what this is. And so I want to like really honor and respect this soul who has come in to kind of like do this, because this is a lot. It's hard. Part of me wants to like say not just any soul could do this, but then the other part of me goes, well, don't feed the pride thing, That's why I'm saying honor, because I believe honor instead of pride, and I actually sell a class on explaining that premise on my website. So if that interests you, please take a look. And you'll be revisiting something from a standpoint of faith and surrendered control and without pride. And you are protected to do it. This is like you didn't come in just on your own. You have angels with you. You have guides. You have your highest self. And now you have the knowledge of your weaknesses and the willingness to admit them. That's what you need, right? Be true to self. Wonderful. Wow. Remember, this is just information to reflect on, so only take what is useful to you and leave the rest. And I want to thank you for spending your time with me. Next we have number 5, 1 year. Well, I just felt myself wanting to rush this reading because I'm getting tired, so I apologize for that, first of all. And second of all, I'm going to make it part of the reading. So maybe a year seems like a long time for something, but, maybe it's for the purpose of, like, just sit back and relax into it and just let yourself, go through the process. King of Wands. 3 of Pentacles. Yeah, there's some work to do, and you could make it a collaboration. You're ready to do it. Maybe you have a plan, you know, and you know it'll take about a year. Maybe you've been working on something for a year. Oh, look, now we got 2 days. So, interesting. Let's see what happens in 2 days. A spiritual lesson. You come into balance on something that you've been committed to, a friendship. A friendship you've been committed to comes into balance in 2 days, and it's a spiritual connection. Oh, interesting. So something had been out of balance, and maybe that's what you've been working on, creating balance in a relationship. Yes, this is a turning point. Okay. You worked on this for a long time. Yeah, okay. So what happens depends on the decision you make, and that might be something that you want to base on your values. So write down what's important to you. When you know what's important to you, when you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses, then you know yourself. That makes decisions easy to make, you know? Music, interesting. You may have songs like giving you messages at this time. Self-delusion. So when making this decision, maybe it's a difficult decision because there is some sort of thing you're telling yourself that's not true. It could be something about the past that you're holding on to when really there's a new timeline for you. Yeah, you just have to imagine the possibility. Like if you are telling yourself something, make sure you allow for the possibility. Make sure you allow for the idea that this is a turning point and an opportunity for a new timeline because you brought something into balance. Look at that, new story. You have to start telling a new story. Create the life. Remember in the beginning, in the intro, hopefully you listen to the intro, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, you might want to take a listen. But I talked about taking responsibility for this as my creation. This is my life. This is the life I'm creating. And that's what you're at the point of doing now. Wow. Good for you. Yes, it will take some effort because you have a story running already that needs to be replaced. So decide what story you want to tell. Get really real with yourself on what's important to you, and then apply the effort to replacing the old story with the new. The spiritual side of things matters. Like what matters to your soul? Like, are you taking that into consideration? It's mind, body, and soul. And let's see, what about this square here? Revisit anywhere it was difficult, anywhere there was tension, anywhere you couldn't quite get yourself on board with the new story. Revisit it. Look at it deeper. Ask yourself, what would be so bad about that? What would be so bad about that? Keep asking that same question to every answer you get until you come to a point where you know there's nothing more you can get out of it, and that's the core belief that is keeping you in that old story. Well, this looks like a really exciting time for you. You have a possibility for a new story, a new timeline, because you've been working diligently, because you have worked so hard, because you've been willing to collaborate, because you've put the effort in. You're there. You're there. You just need to make that change to the story, and you're there. Wow. Awesome. So pick 5. Remember, this is just information to reflect on, so only take it if it's helpful for you. And perhaps I'll see you in the next one. Number 6. Astrea. this asteroid is about balance, and I think it could even be justice. We got the Devil in reverse. Four of Cups. The Two of Swords in reverse. There was a difficult decision for you to make, and you had to leave something behind that was a lower density thing. Like you became aware that it wasn't so good for you. It was a difficult decision to make because you felt tied to it in some way. You felt fulfilled. You didn't know if you'd get what you needed out of what was on the other side of, of being free of that. But you decided to follow your heart. So the process of following your heart involves being with your heart, being with the heartbreak. The heartbreak is there as part of the design of moving out of this energy, because the heartbreak was the thing that put you in the energy in the first place, and it's what implemented the coping mechanisms that you were using to operate in that kept you in those lower density ways of living. You got change of plans. Things are going to go a lot more smooth with this change of plans. You don't know the risk if you were to stay in it. If you would have stayed, you just don't know the risk. I mean, don't let yourself tell you that story that, this was a bad decision or it was the wrong thing to do, because you just don't know what you overcame, Like, following your heart was the right decision. Pay attention to the details of what's coming up in your feelings and your thoughts, and also you may benefit from an astrology reading at this time. That website has like options for free. You can get your chart for free and stuff. I do astrology readings if you need some help. I feel like, oh look, there's a new connection. So you may have had to leave a situation that also involved some connections or a connection. And you may meet somebody at a workplace now, or you may meet somebody to work with. And you might want to look into human design, because you may be a projector. And there is a special way that projectors' energy works. And there are some key things, and as a projector myself, I must say that knowing those things, very important, very life-changing, and well worth knowing about. So check out Human Design. There are free calculators online where you can input your information and find out what your design is. There are 4 or 5 designs, and 20% of the population are projectors. They are our advisors. So it's helpful to understand how that works. 48 hours, so something in 2 days. Expired soul contract. Your time was up on that old thing. It was of great risk to you to stay doing what you were doing. Overall, there's a 10-year process of unfolding that has gone on here. And moving forward, it's like, move with faith, be willing to dig under the surface and look at all your weaknesses as you go through this change. Because you're basically creating balance. It's going to be easy. It's going to be step by step. As you pay attention to the details and you use the tools that you've gained, whatever tools that you gained for actually making this choice of changing, I think something came to your awareness, right? Yeah, so be open to a new connection. Perhaps the connection is going to be like a 10-year connection. I want to get a couple more on this. Change of plans. Yeah. Whatever made you change those plans, it was divine. It was, yeah, something got the light shined on it. You cleared away the need to do that and you followed your inner urge. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You had to make this change. It was gonna irk you and it was gonna destroy you if you didn't. So you've done the right thing. You're on a path of balancing out some energy, and right now you're having to be with feelings of sadness and disappointment and maybe, I wanted to say failure, but I would honor those feelings and then let yourself know that there's all kinds of other ways to feel about this too. New possibilities and all that. New connection here. New love connection. It was a difficult decision for you, so honor all the ways that you feel, and honor the fears that come up, because those fears and those heartbreaks are the ones that caused you to even want to operate in that energy in the first place. Okay? Okay. Very interesting. Remember, it's just information to reflect on. So it's meant to be helpful. Take what's helpful to you and leave the rest. Thank you for being here, for spending your time with me. Perhaps I'll see you in a future reading. Bye now.